What's up, my average AFers? Out for a walk again, trying to clear the head before heading back to work. If you haven't read my blog, you should probably dive in there and have a look. It explains a lot of things going on in my mind and my view of the world. I think it's an interesting read, but that's probably because I'm a bit of an arrogant prick that thinks he knows everything about everything, even though I'm a fat, middle-aged man losing his money quicker than an 18-year-old's first go at the pokies. One of the stories that I tell is about the voices inside your head, and basically every time I start walking I feel great until this little fucker shows up.
Soft, Jody.
Yeah, he's the one that tells me as soon as I start getting my heart rate up that something's about to happen inside my body.
You're probably gonna die, fatty.
Shut the fuck up. No, my knee is fine. Fuck, constantly doubting me, telling me to sit back down and, not go outside and do anything because
What about your knee, Tubby?
Yeah, I fucking broke it a lot of times. Get over it. Fuck. Now, it's easy to think that you're crazy if you talk to yourself. And for most people, if anyone's along these houses over here watching me go for my walk, talking to myself, they probably are thinking, oh, just another social media dipshit, or I'm talking on the phone. But if they actually knew that I was having a conversation with myself, they'd probably ring the police and lock the front door.
Your heart's beating, fatty.
Shit, I'm not going to have a heart attack.
Are you sure you're sweating?
And this is the problem. It doesn't really matter what you're doing. Once the voice inside your head turns into something or someone that wants to question everything you do, I guess it's easier to not sort of beat yourself up because it feels like it's someone else doing it to you. And the cold hard reality for me is it's most likely someone in your past that sounds like my fucking stepfather. Yeah. But they come out and they manifest themselves as whatever it is that gets the best of you. That's the anxiety part of it for me, is that anxious overthinking part where whatever I'm afraid of, it locks onto, and it starts using the fuel that is adrenaline to amp that fear up. And basically what it's trying to do, what your body's trying to do, is get you to go back to a place of safety, because not very often do you sit at home and have too many worries about it. It's when you go to think about doing something or you're about to do something. But then I'm out walking and this little prick on my shoulder, wiggling in my ear, as soon as my heart rate starts going up, he's whispering to me that you're getting old, you're getting fat, you're probably going to have a heart attack. And that's why you constantly got to keep saying, shut the fuck up.
See you tomorrow, Tubby.
They'll do it all day, every day, if you let them. And if you know anything about panic attacks, if you have one going for a shit, then you can just about guarantee that you'll link that event to the next time you go for a shit, and suddenly you can't go for a shit because you're having panic attacks. So you got to be able to uncouple yourself from that voice being external. It's not. Most likely the person that voice is gone, or if they're still an influence in your life, you can listen to their shit when they're standing in front of you. You don't need to listen to their shit when they're not. So make sure you find out who that voice is, the voice of self-doubt. Uncouple yourself from that voice, because if it's in your head, it's you. So you're in control of it. That's the point for me. It's really easy to beat yourself up, get yourself down, but so much of what's going on in the world at the moment is from self-doubt. And our lack of resilience is based around it. Our loss of delayed gratification is based around it, because basically we have got to the point where that voice is super loud. And I think that happens when you have a lot more anxious feelings. You're constantly running on adrenaline, but also we're in a society of people that drink very little water, like myself, because I'm so tired, having 3 or 4 coffees a day plus a couple of types of caffeinated sodas. So you're riding this wave of natural energy, tiredness, adrenaline, caffeine all day long, going up and down. So it's pretty easy to see why you would have a scattered brain, and why you don't even have much time for peace in your brain, to make decisions and do what you have to do just out through the day. So we get to the stage where we sort of start retreating, taking the easy option, and this little prick on my shoulder, like, that's the part that pisses me off the most, is because they're the ones that are always sitting there beating you up when you go and try and do something different or good or have a go at a business, and they say you're never going to make it. You are what everybody said you were, and so you're like, fight it off, you keep going. But the moment you fail, or the moment you give up, then they flip on you and they say you are soft and you are weak and you gave up, you are a pussy. And I'm like, motherfucker, like, you fucking told me to stop, you told me to quit, you were the half the reason it was nagging my ears constantly. So yeah, all right, 50% of the people out there might be thinking, this bloke is fucking crazy, but there's a lot of people out there, and I know this because I spend a lot of time in the community talking to people. I spend a lot of time at work talking about mental health and how it affects us every day. It's not just some bullshit hashtag mental health thing that people try and make money out of. I can tell you for free, with the amount of money I've spent on my project and made $0 back, that I am not one of the people who are hashtag making money out of mental health. But yeah, that's the thing. Like that guy, girl, whoever it is inside your head, dad, mum, stepdad, auntie, uncle, school teacher, prime minister, freaking coach, all these people that have influence over you as a child, usually you're going to set you up for who that voice is inside your head, and that's the thing that you got to work out. Who is it? Who is it that you're still trying to please? Who is it that's actually running your life? Who is it that tells you you're wrong when you're trying to be right? And then, like I said, as soon as you do what they say, or what they say is going to happen, they compound it by telling you that you're a failure. And I watch it in so many people. I watch it in their language. I watch it in how they talk. I watch people with walls up. They just have a shield up, and that's the way they do it to protect themselves all the time. I have people who are very explain a lot, so I do that a lot myself. I over-explain everything to the workforce, to people. I give them these massive explanations about what I'm doing and why. It's almost like it's a justification to not let anybody believe that I'm an idiot and I don't know what I'm doing, because I used to get questioned a lot by my stepdad. And that's not his fault, all on his own. As you dig more into these things, you find out that there was lots of issues. There were lots of issues in his family around that sort of thing. So, that makes it hard, because we're now getting into third and fourth generation of no real problems in society to keep us busy doing what we do. What we have got is a lot of mental health issues, probably from the early 1900s through to the 30s and 40s with war. because that affected the entire world, called a world war, affected the entire world, and they didn't have the tools, or they had so many issues that finding a meal was their biggest thing for the day afterwards, during depressions and recessions and downturns and all these things that happen after war comes through. That's if you're lucky enough to have this country that we have. The other countries that lost the war, or where the wars actually took place, they had the shit kicked out of their cities, their food supplies, their money, their water, their health and hygiene. All right, so what's the point? Well, we don't deal with it, so we pass that down, and the only strength that we have in that whole situation is hoping that you have enough love for your family, to ensure that they always feel supported during their childhood, to not be that voice that ends up on their shoulder. But monkey see, monkey do. Most of the time it hasn't. So the more I look into it, the more I sort of see that, it's a few generations worth of handing it down. And now, the past couple of generations that had to work so physically, didn't have spare cash, didn't have spare time, and didn't have access to 42 billion people's thoughts every time they scroll through social media. I guess they could keep their feelings to themselves a little bit. Usually when they had too much alcohol, it came out, or no alcohol, it came out. But do you see the difference? I don't know, if you've come this far, maybe you get what I'm saying. But the difference for me is understanding that this generation and the one coming after us have so much spare time, they have so much disposable income, they have so little worries, that they spend so much time in their head, but they've got inherent mental issues passed down from their family, and they've got someone sitting on their shoulder talking shit in their ear. And that's a large percentage of the population, and I think that percentage is going to get larger if we don't find out how to have a positive effect on it. Because one becomes two. So I've got 4 daughters. I was heading down the road that I really was suffering so badly, and not knowing that not only was affecting all the people at work, still do, and my friends, walking away from friendships, but I had 4 daughters. So take away everything else, work, friends away, I got 4 daughters. So whatever I influence my 4 daughters, that's one problem just turned into 4. So if 3 of them end up like me, and one stays a path, if I didn't turn it around, then 3 might have 3, and so on. You can see how quickly you can exponentially blow those numbers out of wellness, and I think that's part of the problem. So how do I wrap this up? Listen to the voice that's in your head. Find out who it is that's doubting you. Find out whether you agree with them genuinely in your soul. Find out if your loved ones are as happy with you as you think they are. And then from there you can identify your wellness problem. And that's what the project for me is. If you don't have wellness issues yet and things are going okay, well, cool. We'll start on this side, which is get active, eat well. It goes through the same 5 principles: the spiritual, physical, intellectual, financial, and emotional. They're the 5 principal foundations for me that need balance and equal amounts of time to not have a critical failure of your health. Everything that's on the other side of the failure is reactive. All right, you can get some talking with a psychologist or a psychiatrist before you have a critical failure, but that takes some serious strength to get yourself to do that. That's like saying, your car's due at 10,000 k service, and you drive it in there at 8,000 because you're like, just want to make sure that it's going to get through to the 10,000. It's highly unlikely that people do that. So I would probably say that 80% of people seek out a psychiatrist or a psychologist after they've had some fucked up shit go on. That's my opinion. feel free to comment below and tell me I'm full of shit, because that's the beauty of the internet. I bet you the fact checkers don't go through and read this freaking post and pull me up on anything. But yeah, find that voice, find out whether you agree with them. If you agree with them, find out what the problem is, and then start rebuilding from there. Average AF, when you download the app, talks about average is freaking hard work to stay there, because if you're exceptional in one field, you will undoubtedly fall over in another and eventually end up average AF anyway. So it's a lot easier to try and keep that balance in your life in the first place, because sooner or later, unless you want a catastrophic failure of your mental health and wellness, you will have to come back to balance. So you will lose all your money and have to get in touch with your emotional side, you know, through divorce or losing your job or whatever it is. One way or the other, average is cool, average is good. And all this bullshit through social media that tells you that it's not, that you should have abs at 50 and you shouldn't have any wrinkles at 60. And if you're not rich, do a 3-day course online and holy fucking moly, you will be rich. Okay, so just think about that the next time you're scrolling through your feed, because every time that voice in your head makes you stop on something, the algorithm says, ooh, he stopped. And so they're going to throw more shit at you. And before you know it, you'll just be full of your feed of shit that is pretty much aimed at your self-doubt. So tell that boy, shut the fuck up, to leave you alone and move on, getting better, or staying well. If you are well, stay well. If you've got some secrets, let me know. If you're doing something that's not listed in those 5 principles, email me, support@averageaf.com. That's the point. The conversations can happen now. This is a conversation, okay? If you're listening, you might not have an issue, but that's what the conversation's for. You don't have to wait until you're so burnt with anxiety and depression and your nerves are fried. You know, try learning a lesson then. When your body battery is depleted, you can't. You know what I mean? Like, you can't. You just don't have the energy to take in those lessons, so you're stuck in the loop. And it takes almost a complete breakdown for people to get out of the loop. That's unfortunately the reality of it. So work with me. Help me out. I'm not alone. And I know that because, boy, oh boy, behind the scenes, the people that reach out to me, the high flyers from every walk of life, you know, cleaners stop in my office sometimes and, you know, break down, tell me the story. And I can't believe how bad their life is compared to mine, you know, and they're still going. You know, rich people tell me their story. You know, all these people with big bravado, strong personalities, you know, pretend like it's all good, but it's smoke and mirrors, you know. And as soon as we can uncouple ourselves from the bullshit that is, you know, the representation of ourselves, the sooner we can start finding the problems and fixing it. So, holy shit, fuck, I love to talk. 18 minutes. If you've gone this far, thanks very much. Scroll through the next video. Cheers.